For all of you men out there that are watching, listen to your wives. You as a father, as a husband, you got to find the common ground with your children and your wife. For all the entrepreneur bros out there thinking that you can't play a little Fortnite with your children or with your good friend or with your, nephews, you're absolutely wrong. You're full of honestly.
Carlos Reyes on the Humble Show. Yeah, we all in. Yeah, we all in. So grab your boys now, cause you know we all win. Lift your hands up and give them praise. Blessed every day, full of grace. Yeah, we all in. Yeah, we all.
Welcome back to the All In Podcast. I am your host, Carlos Reyes, and I am here with my co-host, Mr. Zadie, aka the most interesting man in the industry. To my left here, I got Mr. Adrian Salgado, aka Born Closer, and you want to stick around for this one because we are going to discuss the challenges of being a husband, being a father, and being a businessman. And we're also going to take you down some of the challenges that our organization has went through and overcome over the past 2+ years. So it's going to be a good show. Stick around. You definitely want to listen to this one for its entirety. Okay. So number one, fellas, welcome back.
Howdy.
Welcome back to the show.
Good to be back.
Refreshed right after a Labor Day weekend. We spent, I know that you spent a good amount of time with your family. I know that you spent a good amount of time with your family. And I know that I spent a good amount of time with my family. And you know what? It grounded me. And as you can see, my energy, it gave me a reset, a healthy reset.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. The challenges didn't change. Right. I was stressed out. I don't really tell people. And I don't want to, you know what, bro? I don't even want to say the word stress. I don't want to say the word stress because, bro, we've been dealing with stress our whole life and everybody has a different kind of stress, right?
How about an influx in cortisol?
No, I don't even want to say that.
Or pressure.
Because there's good and bad to cortisol, but the pressure obviously this year has been pretty significant. But I was, I would say I had my hands full. I had my hands full. I'm not even going to say I was overwhelmed. On Friday, we're always building and fighting in multiple fronts, right? In this organization, because we're not kind of a one-trick pony. We don't do one thing, right? We do a couple of different things, and I believe we do them pretty well, right? So, when that happens, man, I've noticed that if you just get out of your head and just go, ground yourself to where your feet are, those challenges don't seem so heavy or so big anymore, right? And a good way to do that for me and probably for both of you is to just spend more time with your family. Be present with your wives, be present with our children, right? I know you're in a loving marriage, right? You're the only husband that I know that your wife allows you to play Fortnite for 2 or 3 hours in a day, right?
Yes.
Good for you. Kudos to Meg, right?
Technically, all our wives do that.
Excuse me?
I said all our wives do that.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm just So anyway, Adrian, I know that you had your, my goddaughters and your little daughter's birthday party, and that was I thought that was very healthy. It was small, but it was just perfect, right?
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
That was cool.
So there's a lot of beautiful things happening, right? Do we have the most amount of money in our bank accounts that we've ever had in our lives? Absolutely not. But do we have our health?
Yep.
Do we have a loving wife?
Yep.
Right? That we're madly in love with our wives. We still like to be intimate with our wives. You see what I'm like?
Yeah,
there's so many
blessings.
good things.
I think
right?
there's a common misconception when it comes to finances or just revenue in general, right? When we say we don't have the type of money in our bank account, it's not because we're not making money.
We're making money.
It's because of the choice that we made on how to make that money and where it comes from, right? There's a lot of organizations out there. I mean, let's be honest. If you, me, Sal, Zadie, Max, all 5 of us, we say, hey, you know what?
We're just going to do
We're just going to do real estate wholesaling.
That's
it's just going to be us 5. That's going to be our team. I mean,
Kill it.
we're gonna
Kill
we're gonna do a couple, few million a year, if
Half
not
a million a month.
Yeah,
$500,000 a month.
we can do it, but then that's only 5. Typically, realistic, that's 5 families that we get to help out.
That's right.
Right at the end of the day,
That's right.
and along the line, you and Sal made
Commitment.
not even a commitment, a covenant,
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
right? A covenant that you guys were going to build something beyond your wildest
Much
dreams.
bigger. Much bigger. How did you know that, by the way?
Um,
Did Sal tell you? Because Sal reminds me of that all the time. Every time I start complaining, right? Every time I'm
Well,
like,
that's
hey,
why-
what's going on, bro? He's like, hey, bro, you decided to build something way bigger than I anticipated. He reminds me of the amount of people we employ,
Yeah.
right? He reminds me of the amount that our payroll expenses
salary,
are
yeah.
every single month, right? He's like, dude, you decided to build something much bigger.
yeah, yeah, and the
It's a
way
reality check.
and the reason that I found that out is because now I'm on the other side,
Building with us.
building
that's right.
building with you, not
Max,
just
Max is building with us. Zadie's building with us. You're building with us. Hope is building with us. Spencer's building with us, right?
yeah. So I get to see like the ins and outs and the intricacies, and it's like, man, looking at everything that we're doing, I'm like, man, it'd be so much easier if we just focused on this one little area, right? But then it goes back to, like I said, but that one little area is only going to help certain amount of people.
I think we would get bored.
and I think you're right.
I think we would get bored. I'm just being honest with you because I
Right.
was
You've
in
been
our
there,
level
done
10.
that.
I was in our level 10 meeting with our BPO company, right? And I'm in there as soon as the scorecard comes up, I go from the back of the table to the front of the table. And I'm taking a look at hours dialed, and I'm taking a look at production percentage, right? And I'm taking a look at disqualified lead percentage. Like once that scorecard comes up, my eyes light up, and I move to the front. Sal takes the back seats. Sal starts working on his stuff, and I take over the meeting as soon as that scorecard comes up. And that's what I was thinking today. I'm like, you know what? If I only had to build one business, I would be bored out of my mind, honestly. I would be. And I don't care how much money we'll be making in that one business. It would just be like, this isn't challenging. I'm not growing, right? Like, I'm not like, I think we've been there. I think we were there when we were crushing it. When we were crushing when you were the sales director for our old real estate acquisition company, right? When you were getting a good amount of deals, 10 plus, and our staff, I think we had a record-breaking month, July of 2019, where we had like 62 or 65 deals.
Yeah, we were
Contracts. We didn't close them all, but
$1 million
we had
in
65.
revenue, right?
We've done $1 million in revenue in a month, right? So we've been there, and I don't know if we would ever go back. We're too far. We're way too far to ever go back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what I told Sal the other day. I'm like, we're too far to revert. We're too far to go back and to do one small little business. We're just not those people anymore.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I mean, right before we jumped on the podcast, you were asking like where I was at, and for me, I don't have the education. I didn't grow up with education, the business mindset. I was horrible at spelling. I still am. I spell like a graffiti artist. My math is horrible, thank God.
Jeez, dude.
But all of these things.
Actually, then why do you always help my daughter with her math?
I don't know.
You just got to be
it's-
one step ahead. You
it's-
don't got to be like 20 steps.
It's tough for me to help my daughter with their math these days. You know what I mean? But I can sit there and read a P&L, and I can sit there and read a balance sheet, and I can sit there and read conversion ratios. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what?
I think for me, it's to the point now where I can do all these things and I can learn all these things, but learning them all at once for 4 or 5 different companies that, they vertically integrate with each other.
Multi-million-dollar companies too. It's not like some small hole in the wall. We actually decided to not even worry, actually close down, sell off anything that was just making like a couple 6 figures, multiple 6 figures a year. We were like, we're not doing that. ROT, return on time, right? How are we going to get our best return on time? How are we going to build to the biggest capacity that we can? So you're not just overseeing and helping with some small fly-by-night, mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
You're actually everything that you kind of put your hands into. There's big game.
Mm-hmm.
there's big game, right? And these are the things that, like, whenever you see me down, I think you have to remind me of the mission. And whenever I see you, the way I see you, like where you're a little overwhelmed and a little, got your hands full, I think I need to remind you of the mission too, because Sal's been doing a good job in reminding me of the mission that I put out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, it was something that you and Sal made that commitment to. And I got attached to it for the growth aspect. One thing that I tell everybody that comes to work here with us is that it doesn't matter how much money I've made here, how much money I haven't made here.
Yep.
It's what's kept me around the longest was the fact that I was able to grow as a person. Right.
Well, at one point you almost left. Remember, you almost left, and I told you, hey brother, don't be like a lot of these other people and jump off the elevator on the 3rd floor. Right, we're building a skyscraper.
And I think that's my biggest fear now.
What, jumping off?
Is
the fear of missing out, FOMO?
FOMO, yeah, absolutely. It's a real thing, right?
Because you put in so much work to help.
And we're
build
not
it.
going to stop.
That's the crazy part. Like,
yeah, that's the thing.
We're
too.
not going to stop.
Other than him and Sal, you put in the most work.
Yeah.
You know me and Sal. When are we going to stop?
But that's where I'm at too. I don't stop. And that's the biggest challenge that I'm facing again is different levels, different devils, right? I'm getting to the point now where
How about new levels, new devils?
no, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say it
It
that
is
way
new
too.
levels.
It is new
Not
levels, new
different.
devils. Yeah.
We're trying to climb every single month,
You're
right?
trying shit.
We're doing.
Yeah,
we're
doing.
climbing every
We're
month.
doing.
Yeah.
But it comes back to like being a father, right? Is this summer alone, because we made the choice to go in one direction and we had to turn the ship and go in a different direction. It caused more hands on deck, right? More people to do more things all at once. Everybody was lifting, carrying the heavy weight. And unfortunately, my summer came and gone, and I wasn't able to spend the time that we're used to spending when we had less responsibility and less obligations
and more money,
yeah. Right? And so for me, I think if my energy's been down or it's been depleted lately, it's not for the lack of wanting to get better. It's simply the fact that my family life isn't where I want it to be. Right. And it's a constant juggle for any entrepreneur out there. You have your business life and you have your family life.
But it has been in the past.
It has been.
It has been. And there's seasons, right? That's what people also need to understand. There's seasons of harvest, and there's seasons of planting.
Yep.
Plow the fuck.
Right now, excuse me?
I see you plow the fuck out of the field.
Oh my God. You would make such a great plower.
I am a plower.
You
Every day.
Yeah, like, you know how you're like really low to the ground?
Center of gravity.
Yeah, you would make a very good plower. Brother, honestly, again, I'm sitting here telling you, bro, there's seasons. And are you saying that to yourself? Because that's what I've been saying to myself. There are seasons. I've seen so many different seasons.
I read it in the Bible. I read it in Ecclesiastes the other day. It talks about that, right? And I know it's seasons. I also know too for myself personally, and you probably know to identify this too, when your battery's just depleted, and no matter how hard you try to charge it at the end of the night, you try to charge it over the weekend, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
So the reality is enough for me.
For me, it hasn't been. Right?
I can tell.
What do you attribute that to?
Just more and more responsibilities on my plate.
Being spread thin.
Yeah, being spread thin is one thing. But once again, it's
how about this? What expectations do Sal and I have for you? What's the standard and the expectations that we have for every single person that's in this organization?
To be
keep up and do the best of your ability.
Probably beyond what a lot of people have for them, for people in other organizations. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Okay. What expectations does your wife have for you as a husband? To be a good husband.
Just to be a good husband, yeah.
What expectations does your wife have for you as a father?
To be a great father.
Hello?
I think you're a great father.
Oh,
I agree. Thank you for that compliment. I agree too. Once again,
Is that the first compliment you received today? Yes, it is.
I don't know.
Yes, it is. Unless you
Yeah.
receive from one of the partners upstairs.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, that's a great.
He inspired me to be a great father. I wasn't a father when I met him, and
You
I saw
inspired
how
me
he
to be
was-
a better father.
Oh,
Yeah.
You remember? I always talk about that story when we were in California, and you were like, "Why don't you be the dad that you didn't have?" And again, brother, think about that. Think about where my kids are these days. Think about where my relationship to my children is today versus where it was when you and I had that exchange in California,
Yeah.
right?
And I think for everybody has standards, right? And then setting my own standards when it comes to being a father. That's one thing that I've always prided myself on, right? That was
You're
one
a
thing that I
great
said
dad,
that
bro.
that I can be a great dad, and I am. And I think that's what's been weighing a lot on me.
You're being too hard
recently.
on yourself, bro, because your own standards and expectations for yourself, right?
Yeah.
We judge ourselves harder than anybody, than our wives judge us, than our
100%.
children judge us, right? We judge ourselves harder, and then we become our own worst enemies. I mean, brother, they say comparison is the thief of joy, right? But I just want you to compare yourself to a lot of like today's standard of fatherhood in this country.
Yeah.
Are you in that bucket? I don't think so. I think you're running circles around most fathers out there.
yeah.
This is such a good show, right? Oh my God, right now, like this is really going well. I'm really, again, I want to use, I started this show to express ourselves, to be ourselves, right? And see, this is the healing mechanism of this show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, brother, you are being very, very hard on yourself. I've been there, right? I've been there. And guess what, man, I gotta give respect to my wife because, Saturday, right? Watch this. Hey, you're not spending enough time with Sienna, my 6-year-old. And I was about to start playing a game with Zadie. Zadie's the only person I play. Every now and then I'll play with my nephews, but Zadie's the only person I play Fortnite with. That's right. For all the entrepreneur bros out there thinking that you can't play a little Fortnite with your children or with your good friend or with your, nephews, you're absolutely wrong. You're full of shit, honestly. You won't be successful. I used to be that way. I used to think like, I used to take craps on like just shit on people that used to play video games. Remember that? Like, you're a loser. You play video games. And then I got older and wiser and I'm like, man, I got to enjoy life a little bit. I used to be that dude, by the way, full transparency. I apologize for even being that dude.
I told him, I go, you probably started playing Fortnite just to recruit me.
You know when I started playing Fortnite, by the way?
When he was
when I wanted to get closer to my oldest. That's when I went and bought a PlayStation 5. I think, was that last year? Yeah, it might have been last year.
Might have been 2 years ago.
You too, right, Adrian? That's why you got into Fortnite to get closer with
You got to
Isaiah?
find common ground with your children, right? You got to find, we're as adults, as parents, we're always trying to have them find common ground with us. No. That's not the way this works. You as a father, as a husband, you got to find the common ground with your children and your wife. It's not always about you, right? And it's not always about me. We want it to be about us because we do so much for everyone. We think that it's always about everybody else, but we have to also be empathetic of, how our wives are feeling or how our children are feeling, So it's not always about us, guys, right? But back to what I was saying. Where were we? Fortnite and playing video games.
He was being hard on himself.
And you're being very hard on yourself. And my wife, right? We have wives that will call us on our shit.
Yep.
Hey, you haven't spent enough time with your 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Hey, you haven't spent enough time with your 8-year-old, right? Dude, we're coaching a team together, bro. Like, stop being so hard on yourself, bro. Like, did you see the amount of fun that your son had and all his little buddies when we coached him on Wednesday?
Yeah.
They had a blast. They're going to be looking forward to, they're going to be looking forward to practice and the games with us because of who we are and how we serve and how we love these children. You know what I mean? So anyway, don't be so hard on yourself is what I'm saying, because I feel like by nature, we're very hard on ourselves as husbands and fathers and as businessmen. But back to what I was telling you, my wife called me out on my shit, said, you're not spending enough time with your 6-year-old. I said, okay. I was about to start a game with him, and Zadie understood as a father. My wife sat there and said, you're not starting that game. You're not starting that game, right? You heard her.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's up, bro? You got to go. You got to go. I said, yeah, bro, I got to go. He's like, I understand. Boom. He, we cut the game out before we even started. Guess what I did? I'm like, all right, put your bathing suit on. We're going to go swim. Played mermaids with her. We built a fort in the jacuzzi so the tornado wouldn't get us, right? Like, and I didn't, and then we did the cold plunge together, me and my 6-year-old.
Oh,
and
wow. That's
yeah,
cool.
bro. And guess
cool.
what? And then I order us some burgers from Five Guys. I ordered mine on obviously bunless, right? On protein style. So we had a blast. My wife did the right thing by putting a little pressure on us. And for all of you men out there and you husbands out there that are watching, listen to your wives. 90% of the time, we don't listen to our wives. That needs to be flipped. We need to be listening to our wives 90% of the time. Would you guys agree?
Intuition and wisdom. Yeah.
Right?
That's what they
Their
provide.
intuition as women, their intuition as mothers, they know what we as men need to do and when we need to do it and how we need to do it, right? So just listen, because I was the guy 80 to 90% of the time, macho man, Mexican dude, not listening to his wife, you know what I mean? And then when you get hit in the nuts enough time by life and by betrayals, my wife's like,
I told you.
I told you about this guy. I told you about that guy. I told you about that situation. I told you about that.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, babe, you know what? He's like, you're right. I'm going to start listening to you. Doesn't that happen also, right? Like that happens with God, right? That happens with God. That happens with our wives. We don't listen. We're rebellious by nature, free will.
That's right.
Right? And then it's like, God was right the whole time. My wife was right the whole time. If I just live my life by listening to God, obeying, more important, obeying,
Obedience.
being obedient to my creator, and by listening to my wife, by being obedient to my wife, everybody thinks like, oh, you're a man, you're the alpha male, dude. You don't, don't listen to your wife. Don't be obedient to your wife. Man, what? Did you not hear me when I started this show? I said, I am in a happy marriage. And guess what? She listens to me. She obeys me. I listen to her. I obey her. It's a give and take type of scenario, right? So, Mr. Zadie, you just had your second child. You were on maternity leave.
That's right.
For a while. I know that the epidural kind of got your back, and you had to recover. So you took a couple weeks off from work, right? How's your home life been? What'd you say?
I'm done.
Are you pumping?
I'm done.
Oh my God. Do you keep them stored in the fridge?
It was great, man. It was like we have 2 of them, right? So I don't want to neglect my son because my daughter is here. So like we switch off, my wife is with my daughter, I'm with my son, and then I give her time with my son and she's with my daughter. She was just texting me. She's like, she feels like a bad mother now because she's unable to spend all day with my son, educating him. She plays these games. We got these like Montessori toys.
Meg is such a good mother, bro.
Yeah, she's amazing, man.
She's such a good mother. And you know what? She's a great wife too.
Well, thank you.
Meg is a great wife and I wanted to say that to you both while we were, because Meg watches me and Zadie play.
She coaches, yeah.
Yeah.
We weren't getting wins, and she goes, "You can take a little break. Take a little break." And we took a break and we won.
And then we won. But she, you're blessed. I believe, I personally think Meg is such a great human being. She is a good person. And brother, I've been in this life. I've seen a lot. I've met a lot of people, right? And she's one of the few people that I can say, you know what? She's a good person. You can't say that about too many people these days, right?
She's great.
It's
man.
awful. It's so awful. I was just having that conversation with you and Meg. Something happened, and we caught specific people, saying specific lies, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like nothing ever even surprises me at this point. When people just lie, or they're not who they say they are, or they betray you, or they steal from you. I'm not even. It's like Does it phase you the way that it used to? Because it doesn't phase me anymore.
I think
it goes back once again. It goes back to like I got enough on my own plate to have to worry about anything that anybody.
Somebody
else
wants to
is
be
doing.
a piece of shit to you. It's like, all right, dude. Like,
but remember, I used to be. I've always been that person.
You used to tell me like, let it go, let it go,
bro, let it go,
Yeah.
let it go. Because at some point, right, and this is a good learning lesson for those people out there that really hang on to things. It's like, some point somebody's gonna do you wrong, no matter what, right? It's inevitable. Especially in today's society.
Hopefully, the older you get, the wiser you get, right? The more spiritual maturity you gain, it happens less and less and less and less, right?
Not necessarily, because at the end of the day, you're still here on the earth,
well,
which
you
is the
are,
devil's
but
playground.
you pray that you have your spiritual lenses on and that your discernment, right? Your spidey senses are heightened over the years and years and years of dealing with disgusting degenerates.
Well, here's what happens though. As you get more wise, there's also people that get even more deceitful. Oof. And they play it at the same level as you play it. Oof. There's professional deceit lie tellers.
There's polished turds.
Yeah, there's people out there that are constantly
turd.
learning how to deceive people more and more and more and deceive people more.
And they become good
and they really good at it.
Good
and
at
the only time you meet them is because you had such discernment that at some point they're going to get into a room with you when there's not a lot of people.
But you don't have to do business with them. We used to employ these kind of people. We used to make business deals with these kind of people.
Part now.
Right?
Like that's the employing aspect of it. That's the easy part. You can pretty much tell who's, and we give everybody a shot here, right? But we already know, like, if you continue down this path, I already know it's a path of self-destruction at the end of the day.
You remember, by the way, I know we're going to get into it when it comes to challenges in business, right? Which I want to get into. But like you just said, I believe that I remember the days where, either people weren't doing their job or, they weren't ethical, the core values, we didn't establish and enforce and live and die by the core values. So we would hang on to people. There was too much emotion attached, and we would hang on to people 6 months, 8 months longer than we had to. How quickly do we part ways with people now?
30, 60 days, maybe.
Yeah. No, but not after identifying that they're not the right fit.
If
there's a core value violation. There's a core value violation. How quickly do we part ways?
Yeah, pretty quick.
Like,
and you only part ways.
Hours?
We only part ways because if the core values don't align, they have to show that they're willing to get in alignment with the core values. If they're not willing to get in alignment and they want to just work here and still be the POSs that they are, then that's when it doesn't fly. And we're like, hey, look, I can see that there's nothing that you're trying to do inside the office, outside the office to try to make yourself a better person, right? So this is probably not going to work out for the best of us.
The two things that I've noticed about like employees and like how to spot it.
You've seen us. We've been friends since 2016. You've seen where we were and where we are today.
Yeah. And that's how I know what I know,
yeah.
Which is what I was about to say, which is it's either somebody who's always shifting the blame to somebody else. You bring up a problem and they're like, oh yeah, well, that didn't work because this. So that means they're not leaders, right? Because a leader will be like, you know what? You take your lick, you own it. You say, I could do better. I could do this, that. And then it's the other side where it's the person that everything is always great. Everything is always great. It's always great. Positivity is one thing, but delusional lying is another thing. If someone is hurt or someone is angry and they don't vocalize it, what happens? It harbors. And then they blow up and they do some shady shit. It's just, I've seen it time and time again. People don't have the courage to bring up a problem because they're non-confrontational, or they don't want to, they don't have the balls to bring up an issue, and they let it get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then they explode, and then they lash out, hurting everybody on their exit, instead of just saying the truth up front and having that uncomfortable conversation. That's personally why I love it here. Like we've had conversations, but we're talking.
We're communicating.
It's not like you think something and you don't bring it up to me. You think something, you don't bring it up to me. I don't bring it up, and then we like resent each other. We bring up shit, we talk about it, and then we let it go and we move on. And like that's beautiful to me. And I thought that was a norm in life, but it's not, man.
No,
It's not
no,
normal at
no.
all.
99% of people are not
You're
transparent.
lucky if you
They're
find
not
that.
transparent.
Yeah.
And we got a new person. Obviously, we got a new team member here, right? He's running the show today, and let's just go around the room and give him some advice as a new team member, right? I'll tell you this. We have a saying in this organization, one lie is too many. You lie once, you get caught, you're done, you're out, right?
No
One
matter
lie
who
is
you
too
are,
many.
yeah.
Take accountability. We respect accountability. Hey, you know what? I messed up. I didn't get that done. I'm going to work on it right now. I'll make sure that it gets done, right? Hey, you know what? I messed up. That didn't go my way. I thought it was, and it didn't work out. I took a shot, and I failed at it. We can live with that, right? 10 out of 10 times, most of the time, unless you just continue to do it, right? But just be a person of integrity and work, be productive. Don't waste your time or our time.
I would say the most important thing is not being a yes man and saying, yes, you'll do this. Yes, you'll do this. Yes, you'll do this.
And then you don't
shit gets
do
done.
anything. Yeah.
That's worse than saying, hey, you know what? I have a full plate right now. I can't handle that until later. Because that is like, hey, that's respectable. What you could handle and you're going to handle it later. Instead of telling somebody you'll do it and then they're expecting you to do it and then they don't do it. And now this other person is shit out of luck because they were relying on you. It's like you pass the ball to somebody who's looking the opposite direction and then the ball hits them in the face and then
I've
it's
seen
a
you
turnover.
do that, by the way. I play basketball with you. I've
The
seen
no
you do
lookers.
that.
Yeah. Two things, right? Number one, if you're ever in an organization, one thing that I had to learn too was when you speak up and you try to speak up for other people, you have to make sure you have all the facts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's right.
Because when you speak up for other people and you don't have the facts, then you just start mumbling and it's just, a word salad, trying to assume you know the answer. And at the end of the day, it could be completely wrong. And then number two would be just being proactive instead of reactive. Like you have to pride yourselves on making that step and not wait around for somebody. Because like you said, once you're able to learn how to take accountability, then that fear of you actually taking the initiative goes away as well too. Because now I'm going to take the initiative and say, oh, I'm going to put this together. Boom, boom, boom. I put it together and I put it around and present it to them. And if it works, great. You showed initiative and you built out something that works. If it doesn't work, great. You took the initiative to build out something that doesn't work, but now that you have it in front of us, we can make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. Those are the two biggest things that I've learned as of lately is that, try make that rough draft move, put it out there. And then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then reevaluate and see how you can get it done.
We just hired a project manager. You guys know that, right?
Yeah.
Why did we just hire a project manager? Why do you think I was pushing so hard to get a project manager in our organization? Full-time project manager. What do you think?
There was two things. There was a lack of communication.
Yep.
And then
how about deadlines?
And number two, the deadlines, right? So there was things that there was a break in the assembly line. So you would build it and you would pass it and then you would walk away to go build something else. And if nobody knows that thing is sitting there waiting for the next steps, then nobody's going to touch it. And it gets stopped right there. And then when the people at the end are like, hey, we need this, now we have to go back and look to see where it stopped at and identify that.
I'm really grateful. I know that it was a very difficult transition. This transition actually started 4 years ago, right? But 2 years ago is when we really, really, really committed to making, just incorporating, building something bigger than a lot of people are even willing to attempt, right?
Well, I think it was right around the time I was getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
Because I put you guys in a situation to make a decision. Remember, because the biggest thing was like, what are we doing here? Like, what really is the vision?
It was bad, right? It was bad.
Thank God you spoke up.
Yeah. So I remember, some of the challenges that we've been through over the past couple of years was, we hired a COO, and then, there was a hostile takeover attempt, right? If anybody out there has ever hired an executive and these folks want equity from your company without the following being met, right? One, they don't want to buy equity in your company. Two, they haven't put in the sweat equity in your company, right? Again, you can't you can't just try to leverage a company and I'm not going to obviously name names, but you go and you start fires in every department, and you have an agenda, and you turn people against each other, and then you have everybody kind of you being the orchestrator of now the entire a lot of the leadership, and then you come to the table and say, hey, I want equity in the company and everybody's behind me.
That's like the biggest red flag.
What's this? You don't give me what I want. You don't give me what I'm asking for, even though I've never worked for it, even though I'm not willing to, put money into to earn it, right? Well, you're going to be in a bad situation because everybody is behind me, right? That was a huge challenge we had to overcome. Then we hired a CEO, right? And things were going extremely well at first. But as you guys know, time exposes all, right? Time exposes all. And, very quick decision, after, I don't know.
Emails and text messages.
It was 10, 11 months later, we made a very quick decision and say, you know what? We're just going to go in a different direction. We feel like the core values are just not aligned here, and we're moving a different direction. So we have now hired and parted ways with 2 C-suites, a COO and a CEO. That's not easy for an organization.
That's right.
Then you add the economy factor. Then you add betrayals of millions of dollars with someone that you were building with for years and years and years, right? And having to restart that company all over from the ground up. And now we're a year and 9 months into building this company, and things are turning around. We're growing week by week, which is a beautiful thing. We had a record-breaking week last week, right? In that specific company. So you add all these things, right? And then you add, here's another big challenge that we face. Ready? We went into the private equity space. What company, when you own and have mastered a niche,
yeah,
and then you're like, you know what? I'm bored. Yeah, we can make a lot of money doing this, and we can completely take over the entire, this industry. But I feel like I'm not being challenged enough. Let's go take our shot at private equity. And then you start to look into roofing companies and pool companies and landscaping companies and construction companies, right? You start to look at all these different companies, and you're like, dude, this is, yeah. And by the way, does your business acumen improve? Yeah.
Of course.
Oh my God, you grow as a leader, you grow as a manager, you grow as a business owner, right? You grow and you grow and you grow. But at the end of the day, you're like, you know what? This looked sexy and attractive, right? It seemed that way. Then you get in there under the hood and you're like, wow, every single blue collar company has the same exact issue.
Cash flow.
Cash flow. They make a good amount of money, but their expenses are way too high. Their net profitability is dirt low.
Yeah.
And then they're
commingling funds.
And they're living month to month, and they're commingling funds, and they're being ran by entitled employees because they have no structure, they have no organization, they have no leadership, right? They have no SOPs, there's no vision, there's no core values. 99% of blue collar companies have the same exact challenges. And you're like, whoa, dude, that's a lot of work, right? I was just telling somebody yesterday, one of my buddies who's in the roofing space, I said, you know why the sweet spot is between $1 and $5 million for a lot of people in the private equity space? You know why? It's low hanging fruit. Hormozy, I think everything that he touches is between 1 and 5. Like, he could have probably increased it maybe up to. I had a conversation with Lila and Alex, Layla and Alex in the backstage. This thing that
WealthCon?
Huh? No, it wasn't WealthCon. It was some coaching big event, and they kind of gave me their breakdown of what they were doing, how they were doing it. And I'm like, wow, we're doing something similar in the blue collar space. They're doing it in the gym space. We're doing it in the blue collar space, right? And sure thing, man. We were able to just identify that most of these $1 to $5 million annual gross revenue companies, you get in here with the knowledge that we've all acquired now over the years, and you start to, right? You start to look into, okay, well, let's look at your foundation, your infrastructure. Oh, well, that's broken, that's broken, that's broken. We can't really build up, right, on this foundation. You fix that, you fix systems, you fix processes, you fix their hiring and, their hiring and recruiting, you fix their onboarding, you fix their entire tech stack across the entire company, you fix their core values, you fix their culture, you fix their leadership, you fix their departmentalizing, their roles, responsibilities, their compensation plans. You start to fix all these little things. What do you think happens to those companies that are doing between $1 and $5 million? What do you think happens in the next 6 to 12 months after getting in there and modifying and improving everything in every single area in their company? What do you think happens?
60% growth.
Yep. 50 to 100% growth. So that means if you were making 3 mil, right? Now you're making 4.5 or 6 million in the following 12 months by tweaking. But guess what? A lot of the owner operators, they're too busy in the trenches and they lack the business acumen, by the way. 9 out of 10 business owners didn't go to college. They didn't go to WP Carey Business School at ASU, right? Or anything like that. They didn't go to Harvard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Most of them just really know how to do their job. That's it.
Yeah, I think the people that go to college are really good at learning, but then they leave and they don't run a business. They go work for somebody else.
They're great plumbers. They're great contractors. They're great AC techs. They're great landscapers, right? They're great at doing their jobs. They're oh my God, they're top of the food chain when it comes to their craft.
Opposite. That's the opposite side of the education, right? You go to college, you don't do the work, you learn, or you put in the work and you don't have the education. It's like one of the two. And then they come here, the worker comes here and then they get the education. So it's like, why spend $200,000 going to college when you could just come here and get coaching and then learn how to triple your income, quadruple your income by people who have actively run businesses. That's my one thing about universities and colleges. How do you sit and learn from somebody who's never run a business in their life? Like, what are they teaching you?
Yeah, so the teacher's making like $60,000 a year.
So touching on that, right? Because here's one of the things that I struggle with. My son, he's in fourth grade now. Fourth grade. Up until this year so far, he's been a straight A student. Every single quarter, every semester. But he's now he's fourth grade has been challenging for him and his grades are dropping. Not significantly, but he's like in a B, A plus, A minus, B plus area in some certain topics. How for me, because I'm literally in the school of hard knocks right now, learning all this stuff from hands-on experience, knowing I didn't go to college. It took me an extra year to graduate high school, but I'm learning all these things that will eventually create generational wealth beyond belief.
Absolutely.
Like, how hard do I have to be on my son with his school grades right now? Because his mother,
she's really
hard on him. Rightfully so. The results speak for themselves when she's hard on him. But if there's a little bit of lapse in like the understanding and his grades start to fall, like I struggle like, hey, you're grounded, or hey, you're punished, or something like that. For something like social studies or grammar or something, when I know he's like, when he gets to the point, when he's 14, he can probably start selling with us already. He's already come in. Yeah. He's already come in and started selling some tickets and has generated revenue. So if I know like the future for him is very bright, regardless of what his grades are, how do I battle that?
I know that is a very difficult situation, because that not everybody, there's great students that are lousy business owners. Yeah. And there's great business owners that are lousy students. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Very rare do you have great students, great business owners. You know what I mean? It's there, it's possible, but very rare. You know, so
I know one. Sal's the only.
Sal didn't
guy
go
I
to
know.
college.
But he's a great student.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about academically.
Academically, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like
Then I know none.
you know, like I was over at Robert Wensley's on Friday, you know, doing the
Actually,
Investor
yeah, you're
Lift
right.
show, right?
That's
And
one.
I think he's the epitome of a probably a good student and
went to
and
Harvard,
good
right?
business owner. Yeah, the guy went to Harvard.
Yeah.
You know, so again, those cases are out there, but very far few in between. You know, so with that being said, let's close it out with this, right? Just some advice that you, as a sole provider, as a husband and as a father, you would give, you know, the businessman out there that is having a tough time juggling all three responsibilities in their lives, you know, business, or actually, you know, family and business, you know, and you know, what advice would you give them?
Oof, that's a great one. I would say never take the responsibility of your children and your family, never put it in anyone else's hands. Like never rely on somebody else to give you something to provide for your family. I think if you do that, you lose, personally. I know it's very unconventional and it goes against our country now, but at the end of the day, the core values of this country, capitalism, business ownership, supplying a service, a product for the other citizens in the country. I think as long as you do that, God provides.
Oof.
He always comes through. It's like, you know what? If I don't do this right now, or if I don't hit a home run right now, I'm fucked. And then all of a sudden, you grand slam. And as long as you just have that mindset where you're not relying on someone else and you're taking responsibility and ownership, things just kind of align and work out, and then people just pop up, and then all of a sudden there's more business, and all of a sudden there's more sales, opposed to you just kind of like relying on someone else to do everything, and you're just sitting there waiting for something to happen instead of kind of making things happen.
Adrian?
I always say it never gets any easier, it just becomes less difficult, right? The more and more, it's just like going to the gym. You're going to start lifting and the weight gets heavier and heavier, but eventually it starts to get light again. You can do more reps. It's the same thing when it comes to this, like having a lot on my plate. When I get to the point where everything just starting to flow again, I'm going to be looking for more to add to my plate. So it's going to be like, I have to first go through the motions, and I have to go through the trials and tribulations, and you cannot hide from the work. It's just as simple as that. There's tons of people, I talk to people all the time that want to automate their success. There's no such thing as an automated success story. Yeah. And so you're going to have to go through the motions. It will become less difficult. But it's up to you. I mean, if you want to continue to grow, you can't stop. There's no stopping point. You want to continue to grow.
Yeah. This is what I'll say. I think everybody has it backwards. A lot of men, we pride ourselves in being good businessmen and good providers. But here's the facts, right? My advice would be a great husband first, be a great father second, and be a great businessman third. And I can name several reasons on why that's my advice. Number one, when you are on your deathbed, because we all will be at some point, you're not going to wish that you worked more, that you had worked more or had made more money. You're going to wish that you had spent more time with the ones you love. Number one, right? Number two is there is a spiritual alignment that happens when you're taking care of home. When you're taking care of home, right?
That's right.
Because that's how I feel right now. If I'm taking care of home, if I'm being a good husband, I'm being a good father, I do much better in business. When I'm doing good in business, but I'm not taking care of home, I'm not happy. There's a spiritual misalignment. I know internally, right, that I'm failing. I'm failing as a husband and as a father. And then what happens? Guilt and shame. Guilt and shame, right? Am I going to feel guilty and shameful if I'm not performing the way that like the results aren't happening on the business side? I don't know. I'm going to keep showing up and I'm going to keep grinding. But again, if I'm not, it doesn't cost anything to be a good husband or a good father. Right?
That's right.
You just have to do it. You just have to, you just got to show up and you gotta do it. You know what I mean? Like there's no going around it. You know how many times I wanted to say no when my daughter says, play with me? One day my 6-year-old will stop asking me to play with her. Yeah. My 12-year-old doesn't ask me to play with her anymore. So if you are in a position as a father to play with your children, I'm not saying that you're going to play with them every single time that they ask you, but try to do it 9 out of 10 times. Right? That's it. Play with me. Play with me. One day your son's going to stop asking you to play with. One day your son's going to stop thinking you're the coolest dude on the planet.
Never.
Excuse me?
Never.
Right? So again, that's how I would like to close the show down. And you know what? This was peaceful. This was beautiful. And I hope everybody else enjoyed today's show. And if you did enjoy today's show, do me a huge favor. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. What are you waiting for? What does Andy Frisella say? Don't be something. Hit the follow button or subscribe. I don't know. I'll get the saying, but it's actually a little disrespectful, but it's funny. Right? So again, hit the damn subscribe button. Like and comment. We'd love to see some interaction, and share with somebody who needs to hear this message today. There's a lot of people out there that need to hear this message. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you as usual next week. See you soon.